Hey everybody, it's Mark Yegi. It's an emotional day today in Tesla, and I'll tell you why. It's because I'm trimming my position for the first time in a long time instead of growing my position. I think the chart has been telling us things that we need to listen to, and it finally hit my circuit breaker and my alert. And so I'm deciding, it's time to very unemotionally take it off the table. I say unemotionally, but it's tough to take a loss, or it's tough to take things off the table when you believe in them so much. But I believe in Tesla. I just don't believe in the stock, right? And so the company is doing great. They're having some issues in China and maybe some Germany, but the company is really producing. They got a bunch of cash, but the stock is not reflecting it. There's a lot of selling going on in the stocks, including some insiders. And so I'm kind of going to put the dots together on the screen for you and paint the picture. Let's start with this big run up that we had in Tesla. Okay. So we see this run up from 212 right down in here to 488. That's a pretty big run up. Then we see a pullback all the way down to here. Now, that's normal, right? Stocks pull back. But the first warning was right in here when I had a couple moving averages crossed. The second warning was when it not just went below the 50-day moving average, but now it's starting to live below the 50-day moving average. And then the other one is, if you get 5 days in a row where the stock goes down like we had right in here, and we had right in here, and now we have right in here, it sure seems like that's not the real, even though you get 5 days in a row, you might get a little bounce after that. It's not a lot of strength. Now, all this to say, I'm not Nostradamus and I don't try to predict the stock. Unfortunately, the stock went all the way up from 212 to 488, and now it's pulling back to $333. That sucks. But at some point you have to realize, okay, look, it's time to take your money off the table. I believe that I could ride this stock forever and sell calls against it, but selling covered calls works in a range. It works it works really well if the stock is moving up. It works really well if the stock stays in a range. The risk is always to the downside in covered calls. And so you've got to have the discipline, and this is a tough one for me because it's tough to have discipline when you believe in something so much, to do the sale, to get out of the stock. And so I've reduced most of my position in Tesla and gotten out of it. Now, I've also added a little tiny position in it to build a position again, because this could be there's a couple of patterns here. There's one pattern right here, okay? That's the A point, the B point, okay? Now we've got the C point here. Could we get, a bounce here? Yeah, I think there's probably a chance for a bounce here on both of these pullbacks, right? They both come in around here. Here's what I'm seeing on the chart, and here's why I set my alert right in this area here. It's around 334. There was a little tiny gap there. Now, gaps get filled on charts, and so I look at the gap saying, okay, it's coming back, and it got filled. Like that was a little magnet, went all the way up, came back, and now it filled that little gap. Are there any other gaps on the chart? Oh man, there are some other gaps. Look at this gap right here. That gap's at around 258. I mean, this stock could conceivably go down and fill that gap. Are there any other gaps? Yeah, there's a gap right here, right at 225. There is a lot more going on to the downside. Now, everything could totally change tomorrow, and you know it, and I know it if you've ever been in the stock market. They steal the stock from us by driving it down really fast and scaring us out of it. And that may be the case here. And I'll wish, oh shoot, I wish I'd have stayed in. But the wishing you to stay in is after the fact, because the pain of being in is during the fact, if that makes sense. So I could sit here and sell covered calls up until April or May or whenever my calls expired, and roll them down and do the cash flow machine strategy, and it would work because the juice would fill up that bucket. But the problem is there's a hole being dug right now, or there has been, right? And as that hole gets dug, your juice isn't enough to fill it in, so the hole's getting a little bit deeper as the stock drops. So you have to either have real patience, or you have to have a circuit breaker that says, hey, even though the market's green, the stock is not, and it's time to get out of it. And so that's what I'm looking at, is there's a lot more risk to the downside, and it needs a lot of work now to get out, to go back up against all these sellers, right? So there's people that didn't sell on the way down that say, well, as soon as it gets back to here, I'm going to sell, or it gets back to here, I'm going to sell. As soon as it goes to 400, I'm going to sell. So now it's got a lot of work to do on the way back up. So I took my chips off the table, most of them. Right now, the way the charts are looking to me, there's a lot more pain to the downside than there is pleasure to the upside. So I'm listening to it. I'm heeding my stop loss. I'm moving on. All right, I hope that helps. I'm just trying to give you a little idea of how you should remain unemotional in these emotional times when stocks are dropping like crazy. And I think I'm doing that. Time will tell. Take care. Hey, it's Mark Yagi, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do that right now. That would be a great favor to me, and plus it helps me get this material out to a lot of other people that might need it. I've got a little bit of a movement going on here, and I want to try to change the world one person at a time, showing them that you can make safe, reliable income from the stock market. And plus it helps to grow the channel a little bit. Also, if you would give me a thumbs up on the video and like it, great. If you don't like it, give me a thumbs down, that's cool. But just tell me why you don't like it so I can get better. And then hit the notification bell so you can get these videos as soon as they come out, because a lot of times this is timely information and you want to get that information before it gets stale. The last thing is to join my free Insider Tips newsletter. There's a link below and you get everything in one spot. You get breaking news and analysis also. So that would be great if you could do that too. See you soon.